家好，我是世界日报记者江硕涵，也是今天的 Stop the Hate 阻仇视赢共荣的论坛主持人。世界日报与加州政府合作，规划阻仇视赢共荣系列报道，陆续推出12个专题及3场论坛，深入剖析与华裔社区切身相关的反仇视议题。新冠疫情以来，对亚裔的仇恨事件和犯罪不断增加，听到过许多亚裔长者不幸成为仇恨犯罪的受害者。仇恨犯罪不仅对受害者造成严重的伤害，也对施暴者的心理健康造成负面影响。我们身边的任何人都可能面临到仇恨偏见。今天论坛有许多矽谷湾区发光发热的社区人士，包括旧金山地检长谢安宜、美国华裔精神健康联盟负责人彭一玲、美国精神健康协会医师黄国雄、旧金山现代舞蹈家王自如分享他们的经验，让我们听听看他们的故事。王自如是旧金山的现代舞蹈家，他在成长过程中也曾面临过霸凌与仇视，但他现在替少数族裔的舞者提供表演机会，并用舞蹈力对抗仇亚的暴力，舞出受害者的心。
我从小在美国长大的，我是美籍华人，那我有这些仇亚的 experience， 就在我们的学校里面我穿的衣服跟他们穿的不一样，然后他们就会批评我或者说我，或者因为我带到学校的就是 lunchbox 是不一样，他们就为了这些他们来 bully 我。这些都有比较厉害的仇亚是我在初中的时候，也是全部的低年级的孩子来 bully 我。有一群朋友，我们是从1年级一直开始上学，然后他们都是我的好朋友，然后到8年级就是为了我穿的衣服不一样，或者我妈妈在台湾帮我买的衣服跟他们的不一样所以他们全部都不跟我做朋友。我们去看大学的时候，我们在纽约那边，那会有很多人就是跟着我和我的朋友，他们就在后面 ，they were yelling at us, they were saying a lot of mean things to us，或者他们就会一直看你去个好的一个餐厅，他们就会一直看你或者会说很多不同的话。这个最主要的影响就是你在美国，你不应该在美国，你不是美国人，然后永远别人看你，他们不会看到你是一个美国人，他们第一会看到你是个中国人，这个是最重要的一个重点。然后第二个是如果我到一个地方有很多美国人的话，我在那个环境里面，我不会找到朋友，我不会找到支持，然后我在那边不会安全。
研究显示，仇恨和偏见源自于对不同的恐惧，以及对自己身份的不确定感。这种内在的不安全感可能会引发情绪和心理问题，进而导致对特定群体有敌意和攻击。论坛特别邀请到美国精神健康协会医师黄国雄，谈论对仇恨犯罪受害者心理健康关注的重要性，同时也请到美国华裔精神健康联盟的负责人彭一玲分享湾区华人社区第1个反仇亚心理援助热线的帮助与成果。
Focusing on AAPI mental health is important because AAPIs have the lowest rate of mental health utilization compared to any group, and that's for a multitude of possible reasons. I'll name a few here. One possible reason could be very practical and have to do with insurance. There is a percentage of people in the population that are working in family businesses and small businesses, and they may or may not have healthcare insurance as part of their work. The other aspect has to do with stigma. There is this sense of shame, embarrassment associated with seeking mental health or associated with mental health conditions. Some people feel that it's a sign of weakness. Also, there's this model minority myth out there, and for people who feel like that they have to live up to that stereotype, seeking mental health is seen as not consistent with being a successful or living up to that stereotype. But in addition, there may be some misconceptions that might be driving lower utilization of mental health services. One other possibility is some misconceptions around immigration and citizenship applications. Some people believe that if they seek mental health treatment, it might negatively impact their ability to become a citizen or somehow negatively impact their immigration status or the immigration process. So now another example of a potential reason why there's low mental health utilization is this idea of somatization. What that means is that mental health symptoms can get expressed physically. So for example, instead of depression or anxiety, some people may be experiencing instead fatigue, headaches, stomach pain, and as a result, instead of seeing a mental health provider, they end up seeing some other kind of provider. Maybe they might be seen in primary care, for example. Another potential reason is that there may be traditional reasons that might explain or that someone might feel is explaining the symptoms they are having. For example, it might be customary to think about an imbalance in the body causing some kind of problem. And if that's the case, people might turn to traditional healers instead of a mental health provider. And there are different, I would say, culture-specific beliefs that can sometimes be involved. Also, when people end up feeling like they want to go to the mental health clinic, sometimes there's a scarcity of mental health resources and bicultural, bilingual mental health providers. And some of those materials may not be linguistically or culturally tailored to them. So that may also impact utilization of mental health resources. These attacks are generating more mental health symptoms. So it's really important to focus on because this is the group that is least likely to utilize mental health. The second thing, and this is, I think, somewhat related to the low utilization rate, is just that typically there's a great reluctance for, I would say, Chinese people of Chinese descent and Asian Americans to get treatment early. Typically what we see in the clinic is that people are showing up very late in the course of their condition. It's like with any medical condition, it becomes harder to treat, harder to reverse. So for those reasons, it's very important to really focus on AAPI mental health. In the press kit, some of the recommendations include trying to interview people, talking openly about their mental health condition and their experience as a way to destigmatize mental health. So, and sharing resources that people can relate to, resources that will allow patients to see culturally and linguistically tailored psychoeducational materials, for example, as well as providers that they can identify with.
美国华裔精神健康联盟呢，我们就开展了一个反仇亚的心理援助热线啊。那开通了这个热线以后呢，的确收到了很多的，就是大家民众的这些关注，甚至不是只限于加州了啊。那他们也会反馈到他们遭受的一些事情。那如果我们的工作呢，其实挺惊人的，我们 我们收到就是我们一直有援助的一些次数哈，当然也是说有些案子他们是不停的这样打过来，那我们除了说从第一时间接收到他一直援助他们度过这个困难的时期，比如说他们在这个过程中他们会失眠呐，或者是脑部不停的闪回他们当初经历了这个暴力或者这个歧视事件的这个状况，那他们都需要我们的帮助他们怎么样去自我疗愈。当他们自我疗愈到不一定阶段还不能自我恢复的时候呢，可能我们就要推荐他们去一些专业的救助单位了。那天就接到他的电话，他说他的72岁的这个父亲这个情况有点奇怪那我们就问是什么情况，他就说他开始不说话了，跟家人不说话，问他发生什么事他也不出声了。他说好在那时候他上过我们的培训呢，所以他知道说怎么样再跟父亲去联系，怎么讲。然后当他问询了以后呢，原来他爸爸呢就是前2天呢在他自己家的公寓前面呢，给一位就是不是华裔的一位人士呢，就是推扯还打他的脸就是打了他耳光，当然不是很厉害的，那是当时他就觉得很受惊吓，就是一下而且可能虽然听不到他在说什么，但是也看得出来那个人是说他因为是不欢迎这个主意，半夜他自己有哭醒以后呢，他也不敢跟他的太太说，因为他是跟太太一起住嘛。然后呢，他就说就跟女儿问他的时候，他就说我没有想到我来了美国这20-30年，现在变成我觉得我很后悔来，因为我觉得这个国家不欢迎我，这里的地方不属于我。所以他愿意这样子讲呢，那我觉得女儿的那种慢慢引导他，告诉他这不是他的错是施暴人的错。而且当他来到我们的互助组以后呢，看到就是跟别的朋友一起分享到这些故事，然后让我们知道我们华人在美国做出的贡献，我们华人在美国所得到的不相对等的这些尊重呢、尊敬呢，或者对待呢，让他明白很多事情是靠我们自己去争取。所以我觉得在这个过程中，他也加强了他心理防线。
So what is really important for those who have suffered Asian hate to take the Move and Release class provides you with a way through which to access the trauma which is then locked in your body. Asian Americans are known for being silent, for not speaking out. And for those of us who find it difficult to have a voice, you can first find the voice within your body, and through your body release the emotion and the trauma which has been contained within you. And through this process, we can help you find your strength, find healing, and become whole. Our audience response from Vantage was shocking and surprising. It was heartwarming and completely unexpected. In each show, there were no less than 10 to 20 people who cried, because it is a piece which addresses such a difficult topic, a topic which no one really speaks about openly. And we address it face on, and at the end of it, we all come together as a community. And people are moved by the closeness of the dancers dancing together, by the harmony that is achieved, but also through the honest expression of civil unrest and of Asian hate and of hate crimes that continue and persist today.
心理健康在个人和社会的稳定中扮演着极为重要的角色，而仇恨的情绪和行为往往是心理健康问题的表现之一。长期的仇恨情绪不仅对施暴者的心理健康造成损害，也可能对家庭、社区和整个社会带来严重的破坏。因此，我们有责任提供心理健康支持，帮助那些受到仇恨情绪困扰的人，以及防止这些情绪进一步演变成暴力的行为。以下请看我们的新闻报道。
2019年新冠疫情全球爆发后，全美各地仇恨亚裔事件激增。 相较于美国其他地区，亚裔尤其是华裔人口比率高而且集中的加州，成为亚裔仇恨犯罪的重灾区。数据显示，2021年加州仇恨犯罪报告比2020年成长了32.6%。这也是2001年9月11日恐怖袭击后加州仇恨犯罪报告的最高数量，其中亚裔成为主要的受害者。拥有全美最古老华埠社区的旧金山，亚裔长者被无辜袭击的暴力事件，至今仍接连发生，让人感到触目惊心。为此，旧金山地检长谢安宜与警察局长史考特在媒体面前谴责针对所有长者的暴力和仇恨犯罪。谢安宜是前检察官，上任地检长后成立了弱势受害者小组，重新审查攻击长者等弱势群体的案件，确认是否指控为仇恨犯罪。
Yes, one of the main accomplishments that I can look back on is the fact that we established the Vulnerable Victims Unit in our office. When I first took over, any case involving violence against the elderly community was simply with our big general felonies unit, which is mostly a younger lawyer sort of in the middle of their career. And I wanted to make sure that given all of the crimes that we were seeing in the attacks against the elderly community, and we know especially the Asian elderly community, that we handled those cases differently.
接受本报的专访中，谢安宜透露，弱势受害者小组均由经验丰富的检察官负责，并提供了包括中文和粤语在内的多语言服务，以此保障事件调查的完整和深入，有始有终。世界日报记者江硕涵、张曼玲，旧金山报道。
种族偏见常常源自于对不同文化、肤色和背景的误解。这种误解在某种程度上来自于无知和恐惧。我们可以透过教育和沟通，打破恐惧，增加对不同种族的了解。只有当我们知道更多、了解更深，我们才能够消除对他人的偏见。旧金山地检长谢安宜也特别针对了仇恨犯罪，做出了以下的解决方案。
My focus is on making sure that in each case, regardless of whether we can prove a hate crime or not, that we prosecute people to the fullest extent who are victimizing our elderly community. That is what I've been trying to do, is to ensure everyone, all of the victims, all of the larger community, that whether we can prove that it was based on hate or not, that there will be accountability and that there will be true consequences. I certainly believe that there's a difference between hate-motivated attacks and racial profiling of victims. In many crimes, the victims are chosen based on their race or their, how they appear, and that is a part of why they are selected, not out of hate, but because of stereotypes or things that perpetrators believe about them, that they carry more cash, that they, won't fight back, other things like that. So I do think that we need to consider whether we craft a law that would create an enhancement if there's proof that you racially profile your victims and select them that way. But that would take, the legislature coming up with a new law. I really feel that right now we're back to a place where we need to call upon other community members to really look out for our elders right now, especially our Asian elders who are, just walking down the street to do their normal business. We need to be looking out for them in a different way, making sure that we are protecting them. And also, how do we get this under control? How do we make these people understand in our city and in our society that will not be tolerated, that this is unacceptable? We established the Vulnerable Victims Unit in our office. When I first took over, any case involving violence against the elderly community was simply with our big general felonies unit, which is mostly a younger lawyer sort of in the middle of their career. I wanted to make sure that given all of the crimes that we were seeing in the attacks against the elderly community, and we know especially the Asian elderly community, that we handled those cases differently. I wanted to make sure that we had experienced lawyers who knew how to take a victim through the process, and also how to prove the case were assigned to these types of cases. I created the Vulnerable Victims Unit, which now handles violence against the elderly community, and also handles our hate crimes as well. We also then decided that it was best to create a specific vulnerable victims team in our victim services division. They are paired with that group of lawyers so that we have the same victim advocates working with the same attorneys on the same cases. As a part of that, we wanted to make sure that we had Cantonese speaking advocates on that team to make sure that most of those victims, if they are Cantonese speaking, have access to an advocate who speaks their native language. Hate crimes are one of the hardest allegations to prove because it requires that we prove motive. We have to know what was going on, or at least be able to prove to a jury what was going on in somebody's head at the time that they committed the crime, and specifically that their motivation was hate or bias. And so that generally requires that they say something, or that they have a history or a pattern of hateful speech or hateful acts in the past that help us to prove that. The hate crime allegation only adds a small amount of additional prison time to a sentence. The actual underlying crime, so if it's a robbery, if it is an assault, that crime carries a much higher penalty than the hate crime. The hate crime simply adds time to that.
种族仇恨的影响是广泛且深远的，它不仅伤害受害者，也削弱了社区的凝聚力和共同目标。我们需要共同努力，建立一个包容和尊重多元文化的社会。这不仅仅是种族问题，更关乎我们作为人类的共同价值观。无论种族背景如何，爱与同理心都是跨越障碍的桥梁。让我们在日常生活中用爱心对待身边的人，以积极的态度影响他人，共同创造一个更加公平、公正的社会。谢谢大家参与并收看《世界日报》旧金山社的 Stop the Hate 组仇事赢共荣论坛。欢迎您在留言区留言，与我们分享您的故事。我们下次见。